I think I'm live. Yeah, it's showing me. There I am. Yay. All right, so I turned that off so that I'm not watching myself. All right, welcome. Thank you for tuning in to Coach Donna Marie's Live. Happy New Year. I hope that you and yours are celebrating together, enjoying one another. I am an almost empty nester, so I don't have as many people around me as I usually would on the new year. And so I want to come in and let me get some water while I share with you all why I'm on here, because I have something to talk about that I think will be a blessing, especially to women, but it may be relevant to some men too. Women who are pursuing their goals, who want to be able to pursue their goals without some of the hindrances that may be common in some women's lives. So let me get into it. I'm celebrating 1 year of fibroid freedom. I had severe uterine fibroids for decades. I'm talking about 20 years, y'all. Yeah, that's a long time to suffer. And there was a lot of suffering. Let me share with you a little bit more about this. And so this is this is the week. This week would be a 1 year anniversary to celebrate this huge milestone of finally becoming fibroid free. This journey was filled with challenges, with revelations, and ultimately triumph. I recognize how much this journey impacted my life over these years, but not just my life, my family's life too. I was not able to be the best wife or mom because of this very long journey that I went through with these fibroids. And when I was working towards my academic career and goals, my academic career goals and my professional career goals, it also impacted me. I almost got fired because of symptoms of dealing with my fibroids. So, because this channel is all about supporting leaders with their journey towards their goals, and this is kind of a suffering in silence type of situation, many women leaders don't share. I also have something to share with you about that. I've been blogging since 2000, but I've never written an article on this topic. I've never shared a video on this topic before. And I feel a little bit guilty about that. I felt personally called out by Antoinette Yvonne. She is a well-known blogger. She has some of the best digital nomad videos. She used to be a van lifer. She's now a digital nomad living. She was living abroad. She's actually been back in the States getting things straightened out to go back abroad again. But she had a very traumatic journey dealing with her fibroids. And she was actually upset that she couldn't find anybody sharing about it. And I must admit that I was one of those that have been going through this for decades, and I never ever shared until now. So I'm sharing because I recognize now that many women like me suffered in silence. There's a lot of shame and stigma attached to having female problems. But this isn't just female problems. Fibroids are way beyond just female problems. It's more than just that. So I'll get into sharing more about that in a second. Okay, so my goal is to support women leaders specifically, all leaders, but women leaders specifically who are suffering in silence. And this journey of dealing with these types of problems with uterine fibroids, it affects you not just physically, it's not just physical. There's a hormonal component, but there's also pain, and it affects your emotions. And sometimes the hormonal thing can affect your brain. I have seen women who are going through PMS symptoms almost have car accidents because they're so out of sorts. They're so what they call, I forgot the expression, but it's when your emotions and everything are in such high gear that it makes you not think straight. So Yeah, this is a topic that many of us have suffered in silence about, and it can affect your ability to excel in taking a test. I mean, if you start your cycle and you're having major pain and you're in the middle of taking an SAT test, yeah, it's going to affect your academic career. So I apologize, Antoinette, and anybody else out there who feels like us older women have not shared our stories with fibroids. I apologize, okay? And I'm going to share today. So here's my story. And I'm going to try not to cry. I hate seeing people suffering and nobody's saying anything. It's not fair for people to not share their imperfections, their struggles, their worries. It's just not fair. And so I'm trying to rectify that today. Okay, here's my story. My journey with fibroids started right before, a little bit before I got pregnant with my first child. We had been married for about a year and a half. I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids. I was put on the pill. The pill just about drove me crazy. I ended up in mental health therapy, because of symptoms I started having with my mental health after starting on the pill. But I hadn't connected the dots there. I didn't know that the pill could cause some women to have some mental health side effects. But my therapist knew. When she figured that out, she was like, look, you need to go ahead and stop using that pill and go ahead and get pregnant. And we were about a year and a half into our marriage. So, you know, I was ready to start having kids. My husband, not so much, but he came around and we started having babies and more babies. We had 4 pregnancies from 2001 to 2006. So 4 pregnancies in 5 years, 3 live births. And I loved it. I love being pregnant. I loved having babies. I absolutely loved having my babies. The smell, babies smell so good, except for the poop, of course, but they smell so good. So having all those babies just really, it helped me with the periods. Didn't have any until after the last one, right? So this is where the story changes even more. So after the last baby, it was as if my uterus was mad at me. My menstrual cycles returned with a vengeance. The fibroids had multiplied, and I couldn't afford health insurance. So I started all these natural methods to deal with um, the pain, the bleeding, the mood swings. Nothing really worked. I tried natural methods for about a decade, actually. So a decade later, I actually was able to get insurance again. And by the time this decade rolled around, I was actually severely anemic, but I did not know. But once my doctors started running tests and recognized the severe anemia, they immediately got me into infusion therapy, and they put the iron directly into my bone marrow. I was sitting in an infusion center with people who were getting cancer treatment so that they could put the iron directly into my bone marrow. That was painful. My body was racked with pain for about a day or two after. But after that, after I recovered from that, I felt so much better. So it was worth it. But the heavy bleeding continued. And despite using ultra pads, ultra tampons together, not separately at the same time, I still was having to change about every 2 hours, sometimes less than an hour would go by. Basically, it was hemorrhagic bleeding. And I almost ended up in the hospital because of it. So my doctor refused to provide me with surgery and instead put me on a progestin hormone called Provera. They started me with shots, then they had me on pills every day. Fast forward 2 years of being on that, finding out that that type of medication can damage your kidneys. It can also cause cancer. That was a little scary, but I switched providers. I was with a very specific large provider that has commercials about how awesome they are with providing care for their patients. But this provider refused to provide me with surgery and put me on this dangerous pill. I switched providers and I got my hysterectomy last year. That's a victory for me. The other thing is I didn't have to pay anything for it. All of my out-of-pocket costs were met by the time I had that surgery. And so I was able to be cared for and receive excellent care. I had one of the best OBGYNs in the state of Georgia. And 12 weeks, it took me 12 weeks instead of 6 to 8 weeks to heal because I also had 2 hernia repairs. So between the hernia repairs and the uterine fibroid removal via hysterectomy, 12 weeks later, I was doing so much better. My range of motion, being able to move without pain was awesome. It was just the first time in a long time that I have felt that good. Now, also with no longer having a period, some new things were uncovered. What we found out is that I have ADD or ADHD, inattentive type. So all these years of dealing with PMS symptoms, basically my PMS was masking the ADD and ADHD. I never knew, I was never diagnosed with that all these years because everybody just thought I was crazy because I was hormonal. But that's not what it really was. It was really that I needed additional support because I have a neurodivergent brain. And I talked about that in a separate video, so I'm not going to get into a lot of details. I'll just say that I suspect I'm not the only woman that has been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, older and further along in their life, but all their life they struggle with very weird symptoms associated with hormonal changes, and nobody ever recognized that it had to do with ADD or ADHD. I'm sure that I'm not the only one. And that affects your performance in your career and school. You may be able to focus and concentrate and go after your goals one day, and the next day, you can barely remember your name. This is something I went through for my whole life. Even after being no longer having a period, I was still struggling every month. And right now, I have to be careful to make sure I'm taking my non-stimulant medication every single day so that this does not become an issue for me again. That part of dealing with PMS and dealing with the hormonal changes was the most debilitating part, even way beyond the pain and the bleeding. It was the mental aspect of this. It was affecting my memory. It was affecting my emotions. It was affecting my ability to be social, be around people. And for the kind of work I do, I'm a listener, I'm a talker, I'm a people, I'm a coach. I'm a trained certified coach. I talk to people. That's what I do. So basically 2 weeks out of every month for those 2 decades, I could not be around people. That was pretty much, I would say that was like the worst part because it didn't just affect my social calendar, it affected my family. I have children. I would cancel events that, I told my children I would take them and I would get sick and cancel. And this was pretty regular enough where at least one of my kids, if not 2, remembers this. And I was not a good mom during these times. So 2 decades of dealing with these symptoms without getting proper help, partially because my provider refused to help me properly. They just gave me pills. 2 decades, that affected my family, not just me. It affected my husband and my kids. And it affected my ability to engage in community activities. It affected my ability to be present for myself. I lost years of my life. If you calculate 2 weeks out of every month for 20 years, I lost years of my life without getting proper help. So the reason that I'm talking about this is because I recognize that there are probably many other women who have similar stories, who have never heard anybody share about this before. So I wanted to share because I want y'all to know. Now, let's see. What else did I want to tell you? I want to make sure you know that part of my issue was trusting the healthcare provider too much. I had a Black female gynecologist. I thought she was amazing. I thought she was doing her best, giving me that shot or those pills for that bleeding and not giving me surgery. I was wrong. And so I have shifted my perspective on how to advocate for yourself when you're dealing with healthcare professionals. You cannot just be charmed and accept everything they're telling you at face value. If you are not really fully getting what you really need, you deserve to find somebody else and to keep asking for help until you fully get your needs met. And that comes with anything, not just dealing with uterine fibroids and heavy bleeding. So at this point in my life, I am period free for the first time since elementary school and when I was pregnant. It has made a huge difference in my life in more ways than what I ever imagined. Like, for instance, if I hadn't gone for those surgeries, I wouldn't have known that I had those hernias. I didn't know that's why my range of motion was restricted, why probably it's why I got injured the last time I used to get deep tissue massage therapy. It was probably why I got injured because I didn't know, she didn't know, the provider didn't know that I had hernias. And so deep tissue massages, they're a bit more intense than a regular massage. And I could barely walk for like 6 months after one of my visits. I didn't know I had a hernia. So there's nothing wrong with keep asking for help until you get it. There's no badge of honor that comes from suffering. I don't know why. I think this is a thing for some women, maybe not all women, probably not all women, but it just seems like sometimes we think that when we're suffering, it's some type of badge of honor. It is not. You don't have to suffer. You can take Tylenol to get rid of, immediate pain. You can go get surgery if you need surgery for something. It's not a badge of honor to walk around with uterine fibroids growing in your abdomen. My uterus was literally the size of a 5-month pregnancy. I had 6 to 8 large fibroids, multiple fibroids. It's not a badge of honor to walk around with that. It's also not a badge of honor to walk around monthly dealing with mental stuff that's coming from hormones or ADD or whatever it's coming from and not get proper support with that. Unfortunately, the healthcare community, and this is well known and well documented throughout the history of the world, the healthcare community has had a pattern of ignoring women's needs and blaming it on their periods. And that's what happened with my ADD. And so, no, don't accept that for yourself. If you're having issues, you keep going till you find the help you need from the right people in the right places. And my ADD was caught because I was concerned about my children, and my father had it, and I know that it's genetic. So if you have a family member that's diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or dyslexia or autism even, if that's something that's in your family, most likely there is a genetic link in you somewhere, and you can keep asking for help until you get it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of therapists that don't understand neurodivergence at all, and they won't help you because they don't even believe in it. So you got to keep looking till you find the people you need. Highly recommend you check out YouTube channels and podcasts on the topic, and that'll help point you in the right direction for, getting the support that you need. I actually got my diagnosis through Teladoc. My insurance provider pays for Teladoc, and Teladoc has been great for helping me in that area. That's something that you don't have to necessarily be physically seen for. So it's easy to go in there and search through the providers, find a provider you think might work for you. If they don't work, try a different provider, right? You have that right to advocate for yourself. Now, the most important lesson that I learned from my fibroid journey is to keep asking for help from the right people and in the right places, is to persistently advocate for myself as much as I would advocate for my loved ones. My well-being is just as important as other people's well-being, and I don't have to suffer. It's not a badge of honor. I have regrets because I wasn't the best self for my family for almost 20 years. But I am grateful. I'm so grateful to finally be fibroid free and to be able to share my story, hoping that it can help other women and girls. If you are a woman or a girl, or if you know and love a woman or a girl that's dealing with similar issues to what I described today, I'd be honored to speak with you and be an encouragement to you. I'm not a healthcare provider, but I definitely can provide moral support. So you can reach me through coachdonnamarie.com/contact. That's a page where you can send me an email if you'd like to. Okay, so I believe I covered everything that I set out to cover here today. I hope that my message is one that's both inspiring but also informative, to not just sit back and accept whatever is handed to you by a charismatic, charming, beautiful, handsome, whatever healthcare provider, but that you keep looking for and asking for and expecting the best help you can get so you can be your best person. Being sick or unwell, being in pain, being confused or stressed out or mentally just exhausted or not being able to focus, you don't have to live that way. You don't deserve to live that way. Please reach out for help if you need it. God bless you. May your new year be one filled with forward progress towards your goals. Again, I'm Coach Donna Marie, and if you'd like to be on my newsletter list, you can find that over at coachdonnamarie.com. You'll see the pop-up where you can put your email in and you can grab my updates, because I always send out updates when I do videos or podcasts and blog articles. I always send those out so y'all can see those right in your inbox. Happy New Year. God bless you. Bye-bye.